to the presidency now.
I just had a bad night.
And Friday night's television interview with President Joe Biden, following his disastrous recent debate performance with Donald Trump. We've asked correspondent Robert Costa for an assessment.
Well, let me say this as clearly as I can. I'm staying in the race.
By now, you know where things stand. President Biden says he's all in, and no one, well, almost no one can convince him otherwise.
If you can be convinced that you cannot defeat Donald Trump, will you stand down?
Well, it depends if the Lord Almighty comes out and tells me that, I might do that.
Biden's decision comes as some Democrats are urging the 81-year-old to get out following last month's debate. But beyond the headlines of hand-wringing in Washington, this moment also has the whiff of history. Doris, there's so much talk about politics in this moment, but what does history tell us?
I think history gives us two ways of thinking about this extraordinary moment.
Two past presidents, says historian Doris Kearns Goodwin, offer Biden a playbook of sorts of how to handle tough questions about age, stamina, and politics in a re-election campaign. In 1944, she notes, Franklin Roosevelt, facing concerns about his health, was determined to stay in.
He decided that he had to stay in the race for the good of the country because he felt that, in a certain sense, that he was like a soldier who could not give up his post if the country decided they wanted him to run.
FDR made an effort to show the country he had energy, though it wasn't always easy.
He looked much older than he actually was. He was only 62 years old. The presidency ages everybody, but he knew what he was facing, and he made the decision that somehow, even with that ill health, that he was the one who was best equipped, and he barreled through. So he made a decision that he was going to go out among the people.
Then in 1968, President Lyndon Johnson made the decision to withdraw as pressure mounted.
And I will not accept the nomination of my party for another term as your president.
Goodwin worked with LBJ in the White House, and he features in her latest book about the 1960s.
He decided, for the good of the country, that he was in such difficulty that he wanted to bring peace in Vietnam. Thunderstruck was the country by that decision, but it was for the good of the country, he believed, and there was an extraordinary reaction to it. He said he was happier than he'd been in his entire presidency.
As with FDR and LBJ, Biden's challenge, she says, is showing the American people he's up to it, not just with a single interview, but by showing command of what is perhaps the hardest job in the world.
President Biden has a right to be proud of is that he has a character that has humility. He's had resilience. He has empathy toward other people, toward parts of the country, toward people in trouble. And he's had accountability and responsibility. So I think keeping that idea that what he wants most of all is for that character to be remaining and be part of his legacy will factor into how he decides this thing. Only he can really decide that. It's a really hard decision he's going to have to make in these days and weeks ahead.